Oh God, I don't feel well.
Oh, what the Thanos? You don't have the budget for this, Colbert!
Ryan Reynolds has come a long way from his beginnings as a teen soap opera star in Canada. He's been married to two of the biggest stars in Hollywood. He's been named the Sexiest Man Alive by People magazine and has played iconic comic book roles like Blade's sidekick,
You gotta be kidding me.
the Green Lantern,
Green Lantern. End of career, and yet you're still going. Why? None of us can understand.
and of course, Deadpool. It's the latter role that has gone on to define his career and win over the hearts of a ton of dudes who have fallen bromantically for him. In honor of the release of Deadpool 2, here are 10 reasons why dudes love Ryan Reynolds.
I'm a huge Ryan Reynolds fan, and that's not a joke.
He owns up to his mistakes.
Look, the movie obviously didn't work, but it's one of those things. But I'm one of those few guys. I'm happy to talk about it. I'm fine to talk about it.
Like everyone else in the world, and contrary to popular belief, Ryan Reynolds is not perfect. But at least he openly admits that, especially when it comes to the less warmly received entries on his filmography, like Green Lantern.
Just doing my job. No thanks necessary.
He's not one of these actors who pretends that the movie was great, even though it was obviously misguided. Sandra Bullock gave out copies of the All About Steve DVD at the Golden Raspberry Awards when she quote-unquote won the Razzie for Worst Actress in an attempt to get them to reconsider their hatred for the film.
Don't look at me! Oh God, you're showing everything. Cover that up.
That's in poor taste. It's a much classier move to make a meta, self-aware comedy years later that acknowledges these failures in its jokes.
Because, of course, he was in Wolverine.
Yeah, Wolverine. He was in Wolverine, but that's not the character we're putting on screen right now.
In a recent viral video, Deadpool apologized to David Beckham for making a joke about his voice in the first movie. Beckham acted confused about what the apology was regarding and thought the actor was apologizing for his own terrible movies, which he then goes on to list. Deadpool openly admitted they were awful. Reynolds will own up to his mistakes out of character too. He knows exactly what went wrong. I don't think anyone ever figured out exactly what it was. That isn't to say the hundreds of men and women didn't work their fingers to the bone to make it as good as possible. It also fell victim to the process in Hollywood, which is like poster first, release date second, script last. At the time, it was a huge opportunity for me, so I was excited to try and take part in it. There you go. Honest, sincere, candid, brilliant. If you like what you see so far, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell.
It's very hard to dig your way out of that.
But he's still Canadian.
Bieber, Young, Bublé, Shatner.
Ryan Reynolds may have become a huge Hollywood star who lives in LA and is known across the world for his movies, but he's still Canadian through and through.
Missing a tooth? What do you... No, these are all my teeth.
Born in Vancouver, he went to Kwantlen Polytechnic University, and one of his brothers is an officer in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. He's even more quintessentially Canadian than other celebrities from the Great White North, like Seth Rogen, Jim Carrey, Rachel McAdams, and Justin Bieber. In fact, Reynolds even confessed to being a stereotypical Canadian in an interview in which he was asked what his most Canadian trait was. He pretty much said that his most Canadian trait was being Canadian. You may be able to dig up a lot of sources who will deny this, but I'm polite. Generally, I care for other people. I always say, excuse me, thank you, and I'm sorry. Reynolds also tweeted about his Canadianness recently when he captioned a video of his apology to David Beckham for the joke about his voice in Deadpool with, "Little known fact, Canadians are born with a black belt and apology." I mean, come on, this dude's so Canadian, he got Celine Dion to do the theme song for Deadpool 2.
We're behind the scenes of the new Deadpool 2 music video starring Celine Dion. Hologram.
He showed us what college should be like.
Shut up. Give me some sugar.
We all know that there's just one role that defines Ryan Reynolds now, and that's Deadpool. But before all that, his first ever major leading role in a movie was that of 7th year senior Van Wilder in National Lampoon's wacky college comedy. The movie was not well received by critics when it was first released, but audiences quickly took to it, seeing as how this is a guy who really showed college students and young people in general how to live. Years later, the film has gone on to become a cult classic.
Why?
Van Wilder is the ultimate party animal. He showed us all what college should be like. For starters, the college he attended was Florida State University, which is widely regarded as the #1 college for partying in the country. It is reported that more than 6,500 of its students are members of either a fraternity or a sorority, and Van Wilder, its party king. Among the rare critics who liked it were LA Weekly's Sean Patterson, who reviewed the movie in a relatively positive light as an effervescent campus gross-out comedy that's true to the amoral, anarchic spirit of Lampoon founder, editor, and screenwriter Doug Keeney.
God, I always thought it was because I fooled around with your daughter freshman year. Why? What?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I'm not taking off my clothes.
He's a social media whiz.
Let's get to the heart of the matter now. Why can't you be like other actors? Good ones.
Much like fellow movie star Vin Diesel, Ryan Reynolds has more power to market his movies just from his @VanCityReynolds social media accounts than an entire marketing firm hired for millions of dollars by a studio. He's been crowned the king of Twitter by more than a few websites and publications, and he's constantly using the site to either promote one of his movies in a hilarious manner or just joke around. Even his bio is a joke, introducing people to the version of myself which tested highest in focus groups.
Are you okay?
I'm all out of love. I'm so lost without you.
His jokes are hysterical. I'm not going to start drinking regular milk because some asshat has a problem with public breastfeeding at the beach. Sometimes his jokes are a little more tongue-in-cheek, like this one. No matter which kid's book I read to my screaming baby on an airplane, the moral of the story is always something about a vasectomy. You know, come to think of it, a lot of his jokes involve regretting becoming a father. For example, becoming a father is the single greatest feeling on earth, not including those wonderful years I spent without a child, but we all know he's joking, right? Because whenever he's speaking sincerely, he's talking about how his kids are the best things that ever happened to him.
You gonna have more?
I don't know. We'll see. Definitely gonna have more sex, but we'll see what happens after that.
It's just fun to joke about to 11 million Twitter followers. He dated Scarlett Johansson.
Yes,
And then tell the folks who your bride is. Everybody knows.
Oh, it's Scarlett Johansson.
Lovely Scarlett Johansson, yeah.
You know how back in the 1960s, Marilyn Monroe was the biggest sex symbol in Hollywood, and every man in the world was infatuated with her? Well, today that role is filled by Scarlett Johansson. Her lips, her green eyes, her voice, her blonde hair. It's no wonder the Sydney Morning Herald called her the embodiment of male fantasy.
How do I know it was a lie? Because I read it in your newspaper?
She's been named Sexiest Woman Alive on 2 separate occasions by Esquire and Babe of the Year by GQ. Maxim included her in their Hot 100 list for 8 consecutive years, and she even has her own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The New Yorker's film critic Anthony Lane has written that Johansson is, evidently and profitably, aware of her sultriness, and of how much, down to the last inch, it contributes to the contours of her reputation. David Fincher turned her down for the lead role in the Hollywood remake of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo for being too sexy. She's been ranked among the sexiest women in the world by magazines like FHM, Men's Health, and Playboy. The point is, this is an attractive woman who a lot of guys would kill to be with. And Ryan Reynolds was married to her for 3 years. Jealous yet?
Good for you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
He's married to Blake Lively.
I'm on a plane and everywhere I look, every screen is my husband in a sex montage.
After a rocky start to his romantic life with failed engagement to Alanis Morissette and a short-lived marriage to Scarlett Johansson,
Fella done me wrong.
Ryan Reynolds finally found love on the set of Green Lantern, so at least some good came out of that movie. He's now been happily married to Blake Lively since 2012. They have 2 daughters together, James and Ines, and all over the internet they're a very prominent #relationship goals celebrity power couple. One time a reporter at a red carpet event told Reynolds he was in love with his wife. Rather than fly off the handle in a jealous rage like most guys would, Reynolds responded with, "Oh, wonderful. Me too." Reynolds has a brilliant sense of humor with his wife, as he does with everything else. Someone once asked him on Twitter what the best way to exact revenge against someone was, and he told them, "Takes a long time to set up, but start a family with the person, grow old together. They'll never see it coming." As with most of Ryan's jokes, this one's pretty tongue-in-cheek. He's suggesting here that the life he shares with Blake Lively and his kids is part of some wider, vengeful ploy. But we all know how much he loves his wife. He's a great dad.
That's the stupidest
superpower I've ever heard. You're not on the team. I'm kidding, you're on the team. You're not on the team. Get back over there and sit down.
Everyone loves a good dad. Everyone loves a guy who loves his kids and pitches in and helps out with mom and raises them with good values, and, well, that's exactly what Ryan Reynolds is. He's raising two girls, James and Ines, and their mother, Blake Lively, has said that he is the father of her dreams. He wasn't always so confident as a father, though. At first, he was nervous about the pressures of parenthood.
So I need to really up my game here.
But who isn't? That's normal. We can all relate to his anxieties. Early on, he said, I thought, am I going to be a good father? But I'm so much more patient than I ever imagined. I can comb a doll's hair for 6 hours and suddenly remember to blink. But he said, instincts will come to you at the weirdest places and times.
When your wife asks if everything's okay down there, just respond in the affirmative. Don't yell. Don't yell better than ever.
However, he did once say that he would rather drink a piping hot bowl of liquid rabies than take his daughters onto a plane. I've always had empathy for parents, especially like when they're flying. Before I had kids, I was always like, God, that's hard. You can see the parents are sweating and they're nervous because their kids are yelling and everyone's mad at them. At 2 years old, they just have to rip off all of their clothes and introduce themselves to everyone on the plane. He's hilarious.
The man is dead and no one's notified.
Ryan Reynolds doesn't just play funny characters in movies or know how to deliver funny lines in the script to their full comedic potential. He's just plain funny in real life.
I'm about to do to you what Limp Bizkit did to music in the late 90s. Dad?
When he does interviews for TV or radio or a reporter catches up with him on the red carpet, he doesn't stop joking. He has a terrific sense of humor, and it's so absurdist. All of his jokes on Twitter are ridiculous, but so hilarious. Like when he celebrated getting his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Weird how they write the name in all caps! Like I'm yelling at all the nice people walking by for eternity. A lot of his jokes, especially when it's about his kids or parenting in general, have a devilishly sociopathic vibe. Like, I'd walk through fire for my daughter. Well, not fire, because it's dangerous, but a superhuman room, but not too humid, because my hair. Or, I'm teaching my daughter that the sun goes down each night because it's mad at her. Probably gonna write a book on parenting at some point. But he's only joking, and it's hysterically funny. Dudes love a dude who can make them laugh, and that's Ryan Reynolds for you.
I've never seen Green Lantern.
Neither have I.
It's just from, you haven't either?
No, the editor didn't even see it.
But
He's up for a good bromance.
What? Oh, hey. Oh, hello. What are you doing here?
Obviously, Deadpool has become the defining role of Ryan Reynolds' career, and it's only fitting, because Deadpool has a bromance with everyone in the comics. Also, as a pansexual, he hits on every sexy guy in the Marvel Universe, from Thor to Spider-Man to Wolverine to Spider-Man again, but of course he's only joking, you think.
It's the green. Brings out the seriousness in your eyes.
Oh my God, you ever shut up, pal?
No, not when I'm awake.
The same goes for Ryan Reynolds when he jokes around with his male co-stars on the press circuit. Deadpool had a whole buddy comedy series of comics with Cable.
Bring it on, One-Eyed Willie.
So it's only fitting that on the press rounds for Deadpool 2, Reynolds has shown a serious bromance with his co-star Josh Brolin, who plays Cable in the movie. You could see hard evidence, pun intended, of this in the above video. Plus, Reynolds makes a lot of jokes about Hugh Jackman. Like that gag involving Jackman's balls or smooth criminals at the beginning of the first Deadpool movie where he's telling the audience how he managed to get his own movie. Hugh Jackman is yet another former co-star with who he shares a wonderfully romantic relationship. In a recent Instagram post, Reynolds can be seen lying on Jackman's bed in his Deadpool costume, interrupting the video and sharing some banter. These guys are like best friends. That's why dudes love Ryan Reynolds. They feel like they could be his best friend too. Oh, and Ryan Reynolds kissed Andrew Garfield at the Golden Globes too.
They did.
As you're walking up on the stage, you kissed each other.
He's Deadpool.
This is my most prized possession.
Wham.
No. Wham!
Ryan Reynolds doesn't just play Deadpool in a couple movies, he is Deadpool. He's embodied the role of the merc with the mouth like he's embodied no other character he's played before. This has become the defining mark of his career, and the audience are more than happy to go along for the ride with him. The first Deadpool movie performed a heck of a lot better than any darkly comic, self-aware, R-rated superhero movie had any right to, and that's all thanks to the appeal of Ryan Reynolds and his serious commitment to getting the character right for film. He's been doing the press rounds for the new sequel recently, and he's been making a lot of TV appearances in costume and in character. If he was just an actor playing a character, he wouldn't be able to commit so deeply or improvise on his toes toes like that. If he was just an actor playing a role, then he wouldn't have gotten a writing credit for Deadpool 2. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool, and that's yet another reason why dudes love him. They wish they were Deadpool, so they admire whoever he is. We hope this video kept your attention, unlike the movie Waiting. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and while you're at it, check out some of our other videos.
It's over. Go home.